Okay. Hello, my name is Peter Browne. I'm making this video in response to Curtis, to his request for me to tell my life story. Actually, I have many stories, and they could be told many ways, so I guess I'm just going to tell some bits and pieces. It's final exam week here at the University of Texas Pan American, but I thought I would take off a few minutes to make this video. Well, he wants to know about my story as a polyglot, so we could start from the present. I teach philosophy and literature here at the University of Texas Pan American, and I lecture almost entirely in Spanish. This is what I've been doing for some time now. Okay, now you might think that Spanish is a very easy language. It is a very easy language. It's one of the easiest of all the languages, I think. But the fact I can give university lectures in Spanish is due to many, many years of study and reading and interacting with native speakers and traveling in Spanish-speaking countries. So you're not going to get instantaneous results. I think even if you're a genius, it's going to take a long time. And let me see, what else can I say? I don't claim to be fluent in more than 3 languages, but all told I have studied about 30 languages up to now. But nobody should believe I'm like Moses McCormick or like Steve Kaufman or these other polyglots who can switch from language to language. Okay, my story, let's go back to the beginning. One thing that might be of interest is that my father was fluent in Mandarin Chinese. He trained in Mandarin Chinese in the military, and he was a spy of sorts. I mean, this is for gathering intelligence, okay? So one thing he often talked about as we were growing up was what it was like to learn Chinese, you know, what those 2 years of intensive training at the language school in Monterey were like. He didn't teach us very much Chinese. He taught us very little Chinese, but it was interesting to hear, you know, his experience, and he would relate this time after time. And then one thing that impressed me when I was very young is when he would have Chinese guests over and they would converse in Mandarin, and this impressed me quite a bit, and I wanted to do something like that, okay? Well, the language that was really in the air was not Chinese, it was Spanish. You know, Spanish was something that was popular. I remember in my youth, it was like basket weaving at the University of Montana, the University of Nebraska. You know, we just attend night classes in Spanish because it was an interesting thing to do, and kind of a nice, easy language, not too hard to pick up, and a lot of native speakers around at these universities. You know, it was never hard to find native speakers to practice with. So, you know, as I said at the beginning, it's one of the easiest of all the languages. So it wasn't that hard to pick up Spanish, and I found it appealed to me. It was phonetic. It was a language I could speak. And the first language I actually learned was Latin. I learned Latin in high school. I started at the age of 14. I had about 3 years of Latin in high school. It didn't interest me that much, but it's something I'm thankful for, that I took Latin, that my parents wanted me to study Latin, and I did, because It gives a foundation, not just for the Romance languages and not just for vocabulary in English. It gives you a sense of the way languages work. And when you find languages that have case systems, like Russian for instance, Latin gives you the idea of what that's all about. Okay, so I went from the grandfather to the grandparent. That was the transition I made, of course Latin being the grandparent. Okay, I think another thing is that I've always been intensely curious. I've always been intensely curious about the world around me. This is simply an attribute of mine, and I grew up around universities. I was on campus a lot. My father was teaching, I believe, economics in several universities. And around these universities you hear a lot of languages spoken. I mean, there's all kinds of languages spoken because you have students from just about everywhere. So that was something that was constantly stimulating my curiosity. You know, I would hear Chinese speaking, I would hear Arabic spoken, and so forth. Now, my interest in Arabic goes way back, because one of the first literary discoveries of mine was the Arabian Nights, the Alf Layla wa Layla. And I had grown up pretty much on Tolkien, and the Lord of the Rings, and the Hobbit and whatnot, a little bit of C.S. Lewis. So discovering the 1001 Nights at a fairly early age, I think I was 15 when I started reading these stories, was something I found. It was something that I found totally fascinating, and I became extremely interested in Middle Eastern culture and in general. But I actually didn't begin learning Arabic until much later. There was a night class offered here in 2006, so it wasn't too long ago, and I studied Arabic 2 semesters back in 2006, and then recently in 2008 I dedicated 1 whole semester and 1 entire summer to Arabic. Okay, though there was more emphasis on the written language than the spoken language. It was good. I learned how to read. I learned how to read and write. I learned how to see what's going on. You know, when you see a word, the way words are spelled in Arabic with the diacritics, you know exactly what each diacritic is for. And so that was good. And this last summer, instead of taking courses in Arabic, I spent the summer with my Linguaphone course, listening to the tapes, reading the books, reading through the explanations, and actually reading the dialogues in the original language and the Arabic script, and with a pretty good comprehension of what I was reading. Okay, and Chinese, well, it's obvious why I would be interested in Chinese. I think it should be obvious by this time. And I've studied all of the Romance languages. My Japanese is not one of my strongest languages, but I like it, and having learned a lot of Chinese characters give me a foot